Okay, we are kind of rolling, but not rolling, brother, really. Some bad news. Apparently, Errol Spence Jr. has sustained an injury in training for his upcoming bout against Manny Pacquiao, August 21st. An eye injury, apparently. I'm not sure of the details yet, but I'm presuming he's been caught by a shot because he's been used to sparring with, right-handers, orthodox fighters, and he's still getting used to the southpaw situation. And didn't we say all along, haven't we said for years, it's hard to get sparring partners to imitate Manny Pacquiao. You can sort of really injure yourself, hurt yourself preparing for this guy. He's so unorthodox, and it looks like that's what happened with Errol Spence. And to me, Pacquiao has been looking vicious in training anyway. 9 times out of 10, the older fighter, you would pick the younger guy to win most of the time. But in this camp, I just had a suspicion. They weren't showing much footage of Errol Spence during this situation and in training camp. But Manny Pacquiao's camp was just letting it out there. Apart from the sparring sessions, we've seen loads of Manny on the mitts, Manny running. It was Manny as usual. But this is a real twist of fate, shall we say. Ugas has apparently the current WBA super champion will step in to fight Manny Pacquiao. That is dangerous. This guy's not a bad fighter. If we weren't so invested in the Errol Spence Manny Pacquiao situation, this would be a good fight in of itself. But it's an anticlimactic, isn't it? We were all gearing up for what could have been, the fight of the century. The last one didn't live up to that. This one could have done. If Manny Pacquiao gets through this, and let's face it, Ugas gave Sean Porter all he could handle. Of course, Manny Pacquiao's a southpaw. Sean Porter isn't. Ugas is going to now have to really scratch his head to prepare, but so is Manny. He's an awkward fighter, Ugas. He's a champion. Whether people felt he got the belt from fair means is another thing. I don't. I think Manny should always have been the champion. But Manny still has the chance to break the record again. Being 42 years of age, the oldest welterweight champion, which he currently is anyway, but they've done that twice. And it's a tall order, because Ugas again is younger than Manny. But if Manny, which would, I presume, would be favourite to win, but always remember Lennox Lewis v Klitschko. Lennox Lewis was scheduled to fight Kirk Johnson all the way back. And Vitaly Klitschko came in as a late replacement and gave Lennox Lewis in his final fight all he could handle. So Team Pacquiao, they have to refocus their mind and refocus fast. They can't afford to take Ugas lightly because, as I said, he did give a world-class fighter in Sean Porter a real headache. Arguably, Ugas gave Sean Porter as tough a fight as Errol Spence did. Now, it was a different sort of difficulty, but you get what I'm saying in terms of point scoring. That fight could have gone either way. Many people thought Sean Porter lost. So Manny Pacquiao, he's not stepping in to face Rod Solka, that's for certain. He's facing, again, a legitimate champion, a legitimate fighter, an underrated fighter. Right? The fans won't be as hyped for this, but Manny and his team, they have to be professional about this. They have to be professional. But if Manny can get through this, this is more bad news for Errol Spence. You know why? Team Spence, if the fight is rescheduled, was relying really on Manny Pacquiao having ring rust after 2 years out the ring. He's not going to have ring rust after this. He's not going to have ring rust, is he? He's going to have fought a good fighter and be a champion. Again, if he wins. Some people will have conspiracy theorists about this, that Errol Spence didn't really want to fight this fight. I like to not believe that, to be honest. I think Errol Spence is a warrior. He came back from a terrible accident and stepped up to fight a champion in Danny Garcia. This was his chance to elevate himself to new levels in terms of, exposure in the sport and being a future massive pay-per-view star. I don't think that, this is made up. I think it's real. And I hope Errol Spence gets well soon. He hasn't had the best of luck in terms of injuries and stuff like that recently. But, if it's true, if these rumours are true, Team Pacquiao now is going to have to refocus. And they're going to have to do it fast. The benefit Manny may have is he's back to punching at his preferred, well, not necessarily his preferred side, but the familiar side. In other words, his straight left will be coming over a right-handy again. So maybe just a slight adjustment. One thing that Pacquiao will have going in the ring is that fitness, because he's been really working on it. The thing Ugas may struggle with is that Manny's activity will be revved up for this fight, because he's been preparing for an animal in Errol Spence, hasn't he? But still, not to write off Ugas. This is Ugas's opportunity as well. Let's not forget that. This would be the moment, the sensational moment of his life, if he's to retain his title against Manny Pacquiao. But, we're all disappointed. We're all deflated. But, if Manny can beat Ugas, which he will be favoured to do, the bookies will be far favourable to Manny in this fight than they were in the Errol Spence fight, that's for certain. But underdogs rise to the occasion, don't they? Manny's got to be focused. I think because the Errol Spence fight is very profitable, if this is a close fight with Manny Pacquiao and Ugas, I don't see Manny being robbed in this one, to be honest with you. Because PBC is going to want that big showdown. That they wanted Spence and Porter. If Ugas can't win this clearly, I think he loses the fight. If it's a 7-5 Ugas, don't count on Ugas getting the win. And that's nothing against Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao has been on the end of some wrong decisions himself. But trust me, the networks would want the big fight, because there isn't as much money in Ugas Spence as there is Spence Pacquiao. How am I leaning towards the fight? Well, if Manny Pacquiao ticks all the boxes from now till fight night, yeah, you would favour Manny. But he can't just look at Ugas as a scrub, because Ugas is not. He's got to treat Ugas seriously, respectfully, and go out there and deliver the game plan. Be the same Manny Pacquiao we've seen at his vintage best. He's got to be the Manny Pacquiao I've seen in the last 3 fights to beat Ugas. And if he is, he will beat him. But if he's not, you could end up with an upset. And that would be bad for sport. We've already had this happen now with Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua fell through. Oh, it can be frustrating, but that's life, unfortunately. But anyway, it seems like Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence is off. And we've got a credible opponent coming in. And, well, the chips are down. It would still be good to see Manny in the ring regardless, but we were hoping for Errol Spence, weren't we? But anyway, this is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. Whew, you're not going to get the usual Hulk Hogan, I'm out, brother. You're just going to get I'm out, gutted, brother. And take care, sisters. Have a good night, guys.